Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning to help small businesses. You can ask any questions, you can put those in the comments, or use the hashtag Qbate, QBATE on Twitter. If you need any more advice, then you can join the official Intuit QuickBooks small business community on Facebook. Now, accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7 to help you. So do use this resource. It's fantastic. QuickBooks also have a dedicated COVID-19 information site. You can just go to QuickBooks website, scroll down a little bit, and click on the big Learn More button under the header Support for You and Your Business during COVID-19. Now, I'm really pleased to be with you this morning. I'm back again. My name is Merlie Calvert. I am the founder and CEO of Farillio, and we are a small business. We're an online platform full of business and legal solutions for you guys. And we use QuickBooks ourselves. We've been big fans of QuickBooks and the team that sit behind it. So it's really nice to be here to talk to you about some of the things that we're seeing right now, as well as to discuss some of the big issues that may be burning holes for you right now. I tell you one of the things that we've been looking at right now, and that's how we come out of lockdown. I guess a bit like you guys, we've spent the last, I don't know how long it's been now, 4-6 weeks, really focused on cash flow and finances, contingency planning. We've been looking at staff management, headcount protection, and we've been looking at things like property and tax reliefs. But now it feels a little bit like we're starting to get towards the easing of those lockdown measures. We've been looking at sales and marketing and communication messages with our experts. Is it right to communicate with our clients right now? How do we pitch? Do we pitch? How do you market appropriately? How do you stay connected so that you're front of mind, even if you don't have a product that is really a must-have right now? And really those conversations are starting to transition also towards what's the world going to look like when we do actually get out of our houses and back to work, particularly for those of us who've been almost permanently locked down. And even for those guys who've been continuing to go to work, what does it now mean if there'll be more people traveling, more people getting back to the ordinary workplace? How are we going to do that? And we've been looking with our experts at some of the really practical stuff, like will we still be able to use communal bathrooms? In one case, I know that there is suggestion of rotas, so we'll be told when to go to pee at a particular time. Is that going to be workable? I don't know about you guys, but we have an 18-person office where when we look at what we would need to do to put social distancing in place and keep our staff safe, we can't really have 18 people in that office at any one point in time. So we've had to really, I guess, think carefully about whether having an 18-person office for the rest of this year is even workable or an acceptable financial expense. Can we stay remote? So there's all sorts of considerations that I think we're all grappling with. The really nice privilege of being with Farillio is we're surrounded by an ecosystem of experts that we can interrogate, often on camera, like I am this morning. But it's been really, I guess, quite challenging for most of our client community to work out what the future looks like and how we start planning for that, and even what's affordable. I mean, some of these measures that the government may well tell us about imminently in the next few days could mean that we incur extra cost and less productivity. I mean, if we're all traveling into the office at different times so that we don't flood the network, if we are trying to manage access to communal kitchens, to bathrooms in buildings, even to the social spaces like receptions, how are we going to do that and still keep each other safe? So I think there's lots of burning questions that we're all waiting for the government to tell us. And what we've been doing at Farillio really is gearing up to to try and get ahead of the game and to try and second guess some of these things. I think what's been really interesting for me in the last week as well has been looking at, as I mentioned earlier, our sales and marketing experts, and looking really carefully at communications. Who's done it really well? Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Who's done it really well during this period? Who's put out the marketing messages that have really, I think, as customers and consumers, that we've warmed to, that we'll remember when this period is over. I had a really lovely conversation with one of our experts last week. He said, just remember, guys, that selling is about helping. Selling is about helping. And marketing is about showing that you can help and how well you help. And I thought that was a really quite powerful statement that we've been sort of quoting and exploring with our own customer community. How can we show that we can help? So how well do we know our customers? How connected are we with them in understanding exactly the pain point and the priorities that they have right now? And then how can we use our messaging and our means of staying in touch with them to really show that we are helping? So we're not sort of hard pitching, we're not sort of popping up in a way that's irritating or even frustrating, but that we're really showing we help. And I think as we all transition as businesses out of the sort of weirdness of lockdown and we start moving towards an environment where we're getting back perhaps to where we were, how do we transition our communications? How do we stay connected? How do we sell in a good way? So I think the last 10 days really for me has been spent a lot of time in preparation, in really thinking and listening and speaking to our experts. I'd love to hear how it's been for you guys and to share any further insights that we've kind of gathered up. We have a blog site on Farillio, so if you want to see who we've been interrogating and what we've been talking about, the videos of our interviews are there, along with lots of resources too. So some extra stuff on top of what the QuickBooks community is already providing to you. So the sun is out. It's feeling like this could be a week of real optimism, I hope. We know, for example, that a lot of the government initiatives, and there's still more coming, are underway. Things seem to be working better with the furlough scheme now, money coming through with the loans. Finally, I think we've got a little bit of relief for at least a big chunk of the community. I know that there is a huge movement out there, the Forgotten Limited movement, who still need a very powerful voice to be heard. Lots of owner-directors of businesses who've got left behind in this. We're lobbying really hard. I'm sure many of you are lobbying really hard for that community too. And my heart goes out to you guys. I've been in exactly this position. I know it's tough in good times, but it's particularly tough right now. But I genuinely believe, actually, by coming together and by joining forces and joining voices, an awful lot of change and impact is happening. So keep going. And if we can help, if the QuickBooks community can help, please let us know, because QuickBooks are bringing up experts all the time who can answer these kinds of questions and really carry the knowledge that you guys are sharing, the questions, the commentary, the thought process. They're sharing it all with people who are lobbying very, very hard to make change happen. So this week we should hopefully hear some news from the government about how we're going to transition out. We've had some great news last week on the small business loans, the bounce back loans. We've had co-work space and small sort of B&B rent relief, grant relief. I don't know what the label is for what got announced over the weekend, but the sort of up to £25,000 of grant relief available to people renting small workspaces, particularly if you're in a co-work space. So the reliefs are continuing to come. We hear news that there are a few others in the works, and hopefully we'll also get something for the Forgotten Limited community as well. I am watching the questions bank up here, so I can't wait to start reading these out and start really getting into what's been on your minds recently too. So Let's take a look at the first question. This question is from Capo from Twitter DM. And Capo says, "Hi Merlie, your last session was great. I'm happy to listen to you again." Well, thank you. That's really nice. It's a bit nerve-wracking doing this thing live. So thank you very much for that feedback. I really appreciate it. Capo says, "I run a business with 8 employees." Oh, not far off me too, I relate. And even though I've been running my business for 15 years, I feel conflicted about how to return to the office post-lockdown. I am so with you on this. I can sense my team is missing the office environment. I think we all are. We're so sociable as human beings. It's nice to bounce ideas off each other, right? My team's exactly the same. I can sense my team is missing the office environment, but I also want to keep them safe. And yeah, that's one of the biggest responsibilities we have, right? I don't know if I should let us all go back when the government says it's okay, or ask them to continue working from home for a couple of weeks after. What's your advice? Do you know what? You are having exactly the same debate as I am. I hope you're surrounded by some good people as well, Capo, because I think sometimes you have to make this not a mass community decision, but involve the team in this too. We spoke at length to our team. There's 15 of us. We're not that big either, but it's 15 really great people who are, quite anxious too about getting back on the tube and traveling again. The conclusion we came to, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the session, is that there are 15 of us. We're not going to get all 15 of us back in the office safely. Many of us will have to commute or drive and go through stations and interact with a lot of people. I don't know about you. We've managed to make remote working kind of workable. It's more difficult for some members of our team than others. I think we miss each other. We miss being together. But right now, we are probably more productive and less anxious continuing as we are. I mean, I think whatever the government says in the coming days about releasing the lockdown restrictions, that doesn't mean you have to immediately charge back to work. I think you've absolutely got to trust your gut on this, Capo, and talk to the team about it too. If the team are feeling anxious still, then the best thing you can do is to reassure them, to look at your productivity, and also to look at the cost of coming back. If it's going to cost us more to come back, if you, like us, are going to be paying, a significant chunk of money every month for rental, but you're not going to get the full use of your office, then you might well want to think about what is sensible, what's rational for you longer term. I don't think there are any easy answers, but don't rush back, particularly if you're feeling anxious. It's going to be quite a contortionist act, I think, for many of us as small businesses trying to work out how we keep our employees safe, act responsibly. We have a legal duty to do that as directors of businesses too. So I don't think there's any sugarcoating this. We're not all going to charge back the minute that lockdown finishes and all feel safe and all feel that we've done the responsible thing. But I 100% feel you, because it's exactly the same debate that we are having right now. We've taken the views of the team. Our team have decided they can continue doing what they're doing right now. We're going to come together at particular times. So whether as teams, whether as groups, we're going to try and make it work by staying remotely. And we've just taken the decision to relinquish the lease on our co-work area, which is really difficult. I feel quite emotional about it. I started our business here. But I think from not just a financial point of view, but I think from a safety and an anxiety and a team and a culture point of view, it feels like the right thing to do right now. So that's our solution. It might not work for you, but I hope sharing some of those thoughts are useful to you. And thank you very much for the question. I think you're spot on. There's going to be tons of us up and down the country asking exactly the same thing. Lisa from Facebook Messenger, I design my own clothes. Oh, I so want your skill set. I tried to do something with the t-shirt last week. It was a disaster. Lisa has had a factory in Italy for a few years, but with the current situation, I'm thinking it might be good to find one in the UK instead. Do you think that's a good move, or do you see any issues in the future, both with COVID-19 and Brexit, keeping it in Italy? That is an amazing question. Wow. Um, I think there's all sorts of considerations bound up in that, Lisa. I think the very fact that you're asking this question indicates that you've kind of spotted that too. Brexit, I think inevitably is going to bring more admin, more paperwork, possibly more delay for all of us. I think if we are importing or exporting out of the country, I think that's unavoidable. It might be that we only have it for a short period and then things calm down and we get into a better rhythm. But the reality is, bringing goods across borders when there are controls in place is going to cost time, money, and more paperwork. Obviously, I'm not an expert in importing and exporting, but I work with a number of them, and that's what they're predicting. So factor that in to the way that you produce goods, the way that you're selling your wonderful clothes. COVID-19, I mean, Lord above, if this ever happens again, it will be a disaster. But I think we're all a little bit wiser about sort of contingency planning, about these sort of act of God events, force majeure events, I think they're called. Italy will get back and running. Every single country in the world wants to get back and running and back to normal and to make life as simple as possible so that we can get our economies kick-started. So I wouldn't be terrifically concerned with COVID-19 in the future. I think we'll all be wiser and hopefully better prepared if there's another bout of this. So I think I would be considering Brexit more than COVID-19 in the future. And once we're back to normal, I'm sure it's massively impacted your business right now. However, I think what we see happen with supply chains, what we see happen with importing and exporting in the next 6 to 12 months won't necessarily be indicative of what's going to happen longer term. But I think there really is this feeling for all of us right now, and it's not just something that the UK is feeling, other countries apparently are feeling this too, of that kind of, if I keep it closer to home, if I source locally, even if it's more expensive, will my business be safer, more stable, more able to weather big storms going forward? I don't know how many of these kind of events we might face in the future, but they tend to be rare, even if they have a very extreme impact. I think there are great reasons that you manufacture in Italy today. It's worth going back and looking at all of those. It's definitely worth speaking to the folks that you're working with in Italy. I'm sure you're doing that already, because they'll be really concerned not to lose your business. They'll want to do the best they can. I'm sure they've been hit just as hard as we all have been. But maybe diversifying, maybe having some of your supply coming from further afield, some of it coming more locally, might be a good way of balancing a little bit of the risk. I know a number of businesses right now are looking at agency relationships, distribution relationships, franchise models to see how they can span out the risk in case anything like this happens again, and also as part of the preparation for Brexit too. There's lots of guidance out there on sort of alternative business models too. I don't think you're in that space necessarily, but it's worth going back and looking at your business model. Go back to your sort of your business plan. Look at where the weaknesses are. Talk to your Italian supply chain and see what they're predicting too. Cost is clearly going to come into every decision that we make as small businesses right now, because life has got very expensive and cash flow is super tight. But I think certainly look at whether you can diversify and have a little bit local, perhaps. Maybe even have a diversified line, one which is local, one which is international, to help you. I would love to know what you decide on that one, Lisa. I think it's a big question. There'll be lots of other people who would love to know what you decide on that. Omar from Twitter DM. Omar says, my girlfriend runs her company and is under tremendous stress right now. I completely understand. I think it's been an awful period for many of us. I'm a full-time employed, and except working from home, nothing has really changed for me. I want to support her in the best possible way, but I find it hard to relate to what she's going through. Omar, you sound just like my husband. As a business owner, do you have any recommendations? Oh, this is this is such an interesting question. My husband and I debate this an awful lot. He says to me, "I ask you these questions because I can see you're really anxious, and then I can see you don't want to talk to me, and you just get snappy." Um, it's a very it's a very vulnerable experience running your own business, and you feel this immense burden of responsibility towards the people who are supporting you along the journey. They might be great friends, they might be families, spouses, partners, and everybody is willing you to be a success. Everyone's excited about it. I remember being, you know, slightly annoyed with friends and family when I started my first startup. Farillio is my third, but people saying it must be amazing to do this. Oh, it's so exciting. It's such an adventure. And I would go to sleep every night thinking, oh my God, money. Oh my God, am I good enough? Can I actually do this? Have I gone insane? Should I really be working? And you have all these sort of different personas that sit on your shoulder, and do this in your ear. And I think imposter syndrome and fear of failure, however hard we work against that, however good the coaches are that we may reach out to, you've always got that at the back of your mind, and that's healthy. Omar, I think the best advice I would say to you is, you know your girlfriend, gauge your moments to be supportive. I think I watch what Richard, my husband, does, and he wants to ask the big questions, and he wants to get into the kind of all the ways that it could go wrong, which for me is a mass optimist, and I think, you know, founders of businesses are huge dreamers. We are the optimists. We believe when no one else believes, right? So if there's somebody very close to you who just wants to get into all the ways it's going to go wrong, yeah, it's not what you want to be doing at the end of the day where you've just finished the firefight. For me, what makes the biggest difference is the little things. It's the thoughtful things. It's the cup of tea when I haven't moved for several hours. It's not expensive stuff. It's the thoughtfulness. It's the kind of being connected to each other, but without feeling the need to interrogate each other. I know from not just my husband, but even from my close friends, that there are moments where they felt really helpless, because I've been stressed and I'm working stuff through. And I do tend to talk about Farillio. I'm immensely proud of Farillio. I love its mission. I love what it does. But there are moments where I don't want to talk about it with anyone else too. Actually, what I really want to do, Omar, is I want to go out and live the rest of my life and not feel like I'm defined just by the business that I started. So maybe go back to what the two of you love doing together. Make sure that there's a balance in her life, that, you know, the little things that you're doing show that you're there and you care, but that she doesn't have to, you know, go through the same fight with you. Um, Equally, she may be completely different to me, and she may just want to say, you know, Omar, help me with my business plan, and, you know, help me work out where I go next and where the opportunities are. I think it's a very personal journey. It's very difficult to get right, and there will be arguments. That's just natural, I think. But the very fact, again, you're asking this question shows how much you care. It is really tough. There are no easy answers. I think help her work things through, but gauge what she wants from the reaction you're getting. It might just be a piece of chocolate or a cup of tea or going for a run, that might help her better. Please don't do what one of my friends' husbands did, which was buy a puppy. Running a small business, it's really hard as it is. Buying something else that needs a lot of care and attention and planning and coordination might not be the answer. Good luck. Alexandra from Twitter DM. Let me turn to your question. This situation has made me a bit frightened going out. Do you know what? It has me too, Alexandra. And I always count myself as quite a rational person. But the minute that the government started talking about how we're going to ease out of lockdown, I started getting anxious. I don't think you're alone in this at all. I can't see myself being comfortable using public transport in the near future. I'm with you. If my employee asks us to go back to the office, do I have any legal rights to continue working from home? I think that's the employer. I can perform my job as well working from home as I would being in the office. This is a debate that's going on up and down the country right now. I think employers need to think long and hard about what's business critical, what's really needed right now. Lots of us are hugely anxious. I don't think it matters what job you do. I think we need to wait and see what the government advises. There's a lot of speculation going on right now that's not necessarily helpful. We're trying at Farillio with our expert community to do a lot of crystal ball gazing. What does this mean? But I think there will be options, and I think the best thing you can do is to be really open with your employer and say, I'm anxious. This won't come as any surprise, and to talk. So, if your employer comes out and says, right, this is the plan, make sure you ask the questions so that they understand how you feel. You're not being obstructive, you're not being difficult. And if you really can work productively from home and you've given that evidence, then hopefully they'll be reassured that actually this could be a good thing. There may even be cost savings in you working from home or continuing to work from home, Alexandra, too. I think we're seeing all sorts of suggestions coming out, from staggered working days, so people starting later and maybe finishing earlier or finishing later, so more of a sort of shift style day. We're seeing suggestions that people may split teams with slightly larger businesses too, so that some teams may be in the workplace on one day, others may be out of it, remote and comments. I think it will very much depend on the type of business that's being run. It's clearly harder if you're in manufacturing and production than if you are office-based workers, who I think will have an easier time of it. But do let your employer know how you feel, and let's wait and see what the plan is, because employers are doing the same again. They're waiting to find out what the world's going to look like, how they can get back, and then we can all take it from there. But the conversation is really important, all of this. You're not being obstructive, you're not being difficult, you're not being a bad employee. You're actually being very rational, and you're doing what lots of other people are asking about. Erin from Facebook Live. Erin, my friend, I recognize you. Hi, Merlie. I'm skipping over some of what he said. Amazing work so far. Some of our clients are having to change their whole business going forward. Yep. After initial panic, they're starting to consider compliance. Any tips on how they can make sure they've considered everything and how they can feel supported with the mountains of legal requirements? Yeah, this is a tough one. There are no quick wins on this. The rules are still in place. So we should be looking after our staff. We're going to have extra layers of health and safety compliance to look at. Farillio's got a ton of stuff on that. We're going to be releasing more on ready to return to work checklists this week. We've also got a big sentiment survey ongoing with one of the big trade associations. I'd love to tell you more, but it hasn't launched yet, so I can't, which will be collecting up a lot of what we're anxious about, and we will be producing checklists, some more templates that you can create together and collaborate on, and a lot more of the video, the rapid fire video guidance that we've got. Check out the blog page on that, because there's lots and lots of information there. I think this is a real time where accountants have been heroes for a lot of us as small businesses. They're really well connected with other experts, but they're also on the ground with you guys every single day. It's going to be about continuing to do things rationally, sensibly. Take the time, don't rush into things either, but do take the guidance if you can get it. It's lots of free guidance around you. We also have a 3-hour pledge campaign from our community of experts. They'll give you 3 hours of free advice from sales, marketing, finance. Erin has pledges out there too. And of course, law, if you are stuck. Use the hashtag 3HRPledge on Twitter. You can find out more about the campaign. 3 hours of free advice from really great experts. Don't miss the opportunity. Right, I need to wrap up. I'm so sorry. I would love to stay and talk more this morning. Thank you so much for some incredible questions. Really, I'm going to go and think a lot more about them too. So, any questions about today's session, please get in touch with the QuickBooks support team on Facebook, or of course you can come across to Farillio too. We'd be delighted to help you, whether it's on live chat or through the wider platform. We are here as well. Coming up on the Ask the Expert tomorrow is Ava Mrazikova, who is a cloud accounting and payroll specialist. So get your questions ready. And then just a reminder, if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand for you 24/7. That's it from me, guys. Have a great day. Good luck getting through all of these questions. Hopefully, I'll see you again soon and we can have more discussions like this in the future. Take care.